Listen, if you're still committed to being a racist in this country, then this is just going to blow your mind. Part 7, The White Muhammad Ali. Warning, this is a Jiffy Pop kind of story. Now, I've been asked several times, why don't I ever do videos on white people? If I have to explain it, but so today I'm going to, and I don't think it's the kind of white person you are probably thinking about. Now, we all know Muhammad Ali is one of the greatest boxers and sports entertainers of all time. He was a civil rights leader, he was outspoken, and he was tough as nails. Now, his birth name that he was given was Cassius Clay Jr. His father was Cassius Clay. His father was Herman Clay, who was enslaved by the Clay family in Kentucky. In the Clay family was a man named Cassius Clay. He did not have anything to do with Muhammad's grandfather, but Muhammad's grandfather was very impressed with this Cassius Clay. Now, Cassius was born in 1810 in Kentucky, and he had 6 brothers and sisters. And he went to Transylvania University. No, not with Dracula. It's a college in Kentucky. And then he went to Yale for law school. And this is where his life took a very different turn. Now, Cassius Clay saw a life-changing lecture by William Lloyd Garrison while at Yale University. Mr. Garrison was one of the leading abolitionists in the country. Now, Mr. Clay's family was one of the wealthiest plantation and slave owners in the country. And he's changing his mind about slavery. It's really hard to tell this story because it's so incredible. There's so many parts. So I'm just going to kind of tell it anecdotally. I'm just going to give you snippets of his life as he went, some of the more amazing things this man has done. I'm not sure he was Catholic, but he did have 10 kids. So why do I call this man the White Muhammad Ali? Well, he was highly intelligent, he was brash, he was outspoken, he was tough as nails, and he never backed down from a fight, and he actually knew Muhammad Ali's kinfolk. After coming back from Yale University, he went out against his family and said, I'm against slavery. So much so, he started a newspaper, an anti-slavery newspaper in Kentucky. Now, when his father passed away, he inherited his enslaved Americans that he had, and Cassius Clay immediately released them, costing his family over $1 million in doing so, and gave most of them land in cash upon their release. This is not what makes this man so interesting. And the fact we were never taught about him in school speaks volumes. He was a very outspoken man on abolition, right? Now, people who were for emancipation wanted to use the system and vote slavery out. Abolitionists wanted it ended immediately. And that's what Cassius Clay was all about. This is what a gangster looked like in the 1850s. Cassius Clay was at a political debate. While he was there, a pro-slavery group had hired a man named Sam Brown to unalive Cassius Clay. Well, when he started to come through the crowd to him, Cassius had pulled out a big Bowie knife with a silver handle that he carried. Sam Brown's shot hit the knife, pissing Mr. Clay off when he went to work on Mr. Brown, tagging him in the chest, cutting off his ear, his nose, gouging out an eye, and then picking him up and throwing him up over a 6-foot wall, where he then cashed in his 401k. Now, he started the True American, the anti-slavery newspaper, in 1845, and he knew he was going to be in trouble doing this in Kentucky, and he was right. He got tons of death threats, some written in blood, so much so he had 2 4-inch cannon loaded with musket balls and screws and nails at the end of the hallway in his office to protect him and his staff. No matter the attempts, the pro-slavery people couldn't seem to stop Cassius Clay. It's only when he was bedridden with typhoid fever did about 50 pro-slavery guys come in and burn his office to the ground and destroy his printing press. What did Mr. Clay do? He just went to Cincinnati and opened a new newspaper. Listen, Cassius Clay was at a political rally, and a man named Cyrus Squire, who was a pro-slavery politician, was there. And Cassius Clay spoke out very strongly against slavery, angering Mr. Squire's 6 sons, who attacked Cassius Clay, stabbing him. Well, with his trusted Bowie knife, he tagged a few of them, got to Cyrus Squires, and cashed in his 401k. Did you know he donated 10 acres of his land to a gentleman in Kentucky who started Berea College, which was the first integrated and co-ed college in the South. It's still open today and has not charged tuition since 1892. Go Mountaineers! How tough was Cassius Clay? Well, he is known as probably the greatest American duelist in history. You know, the kind 10 paces, turn around and bang? Yeah, this man didn't lose. There was a man who had a beef with Cassius Clay and called him out to a duel on the day of his wedding, knowing Cassius Clay wouldn't show up. This angered Clay. So what did he do? He rescheduled the duel and showed up. This man was so afraid of having to duel him the next day, he unalived himself the night before. Now let's talk about how the cow meets the cabbage, or the rubber meets the road is a better way to say it maybe, is that Cassius Clay's cousin was Henry Clay, one of the most powerful senators in U.S. history. I don't think he ever lost a court case that he defended, which is nuts when you think about it. So he became friends with Abraham Lincoln. And Abraham Lincoln was considering putting Cassius Clay on his vice president ticket, except Clay was pretty controversial and hard-edged and didn't back down from anybody. Now this is what they don't talk about, and this is really, really important. Cassius Clay was appointed the ambassador to Russia by Abraham Lincoln. And then the Civil War kicked off. Cassius Clay did two things to forever change American history for the better and to bring about an end to slavery. First, he told Russia they better not recognize the Confederacy in any way, shape, or form. And then he convinced Russia to tell Britain and France, if you support the Confederacy, Russia will go to war with you. Do you know how badass that is? And second, he told Lincoln he would get those countries to turn on the U.S. if he didn't sign the Emancipation Proclamation, which